Alrighty, welcome back to another edition of PA High School Football Report. We are sponsored by OSS Health, and we are powered by PennLive, not in the belly of the beast in HQ today because it's frosty outside, Dan Sostek. Snow falling, now just days away, Dan, from the PIAA championships. 6 big title games coming up Thursday, 2, Friday, 2, Saturday, 2. You and I will be there, along with some other of our colleagues, probably freezing our keisters off, but we do have unlimited hot chocolate. How do you feel about that, buddy?
Yeah, I'm more of a coffee to warm me up over a hot chocolate guy, but I might have to just take what I can get this weekend looking at the weather forecast.
We'll get you some coffee. Some coffee. That's Dan Sostek. I'm Eric Epler. Dan yelled at me earlier. I'll explain that coming up. And obviously, listen, buddy, we talked about your Pitt Panthers. They stink. They're not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
I can't even really
There's no comeback. Just say, yeah, let's move on, Ep.
Yep, and they would be in the ACC championship game if they had not committed 10 personal foul penalties, taunting dudes, and just played with any sort of urgency in a must-win game. But they decided to kind of waltz into a ranked matchup and kind of.
I love when you get taunting penalties when you're getting trucked. You know what I mean? That's the ultimate. It's the ultimate.
And there were multiple ones on third down too, which is that's always great to do when you force an incompletion and then you give a team a first down literally and they weren't even questionable. They were clear. One was a slap in the face after a play when there was an incomplete pass, and the other was the most obvious taunting penalty of all time. And that's when you're ready to play in the Pinstripe Bowl and not the ACC
exactly. We're going to go to New York and freeze in New York and play in the Pinstripe Bowl. I understand. You ever go to UTEP or something?
That is a classic Pit Bowl location. Sun Bowl.
It's awesome. Yep. You go to El Paso, man. You're what are you, a driver away from Mexican border? I mean, some good food down there. Anyway, all right. The rundown's terrific, and it's going to be swift. Coming up in just a bit, we're going to have one of the better coaches in Pennsylvania joining us. Roman Catholic head coach Rick Prete is going to be on with us. He'll join us in a few minutes. All things Kaolites, and obviously they got a big Friday dust-up with Bishop McDevitt in a highly anticipated rematch of last year's 5A championship game, which was won, of course, by Bishop McDevitt. 34-31 with the ugliest overtime field goal, but successful in history. It was tipped, Dan, and it made it over the crossbar by what? What did you say? 2 inches?
I mean, considering how many people thought it did not go over the crossbar, it had to have been a couple centimeters.
It was very, very close. It was the ugliest, most beautiful kick in Bishop McDevitt history. That's for sure. All right, and we're going to run down a couple other games for championship week at Chapman Field on the beautiful campus of Cumberland Valley High School. I think the view now on the bluff there, the little vista that Cumberland Valley sits on, where the solar panels are, and what are the things that eat the grass? Are they donkeys? Not donkeys. Sheep? Goats. The goats are going to, they don't have
things that eat the grass. That's a very vague. I think a lot of things eat grass.
Yeah, the goats are always running around under the solar panels. They keep the grass trimmed, right?
Yeah.
Their view's blocked a little bit now by that ginormous Costco that's across the street from campus now. It's enormous. Anyway,
I've been telling all the out of area media people that if you have a Costco membership, get ready, because you'll have an opportunity to do some shopping.
Yeah, or you just get a big wiener, right?
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
wiener with a Coke.
Yeah, maybe a chicken bake or something. I think that people are going to be excited. I think that's going to be people who have questioned whether Chapman Field should host the state championship games. They'll see the Costco, and I think their issues will be dissuaded a little bit.
There is no such thing as a chicken bake, right? You made that up.
That's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
A Costco chicken bake.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, haven't you ever watched the? It's like it's like a kind of Stromboli type thing.
Interesting. This doesn't sound good. Anyway, All right, for first, let's quickly dissect a little our little trip to Altoona. As you know, we have at least one fall trip to Altoona every year because our district champions go west for the state semifinals, and we had a couple mid Penn squads were involved, and also we had another District 3 outfit involved that was sort of halfway Altoona, we'll call it, in Lewistown. But your day, Dan, you were in Exeter Township High School for, let's call them upstart Trinity. I still think they were up, getting to this point, winning a district title, getting to the state semifinals now, and obviously they run into a really tough customer in Northwestern Lehigh, who are, by the way, the defending 3A champions. And you saw a good game for half of football.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games where if you believe in the concept of a switch being flipped, switch being flipped, this was one of them. Because the first half, the two teams looked completely dead even. Like, Trinity did not look out of place at all with the defending state champs. They were moving the ball well. Brandon Harris, who I think is going to be one of the best running backs in the District 3 by the time he's a senior, he's a sophomore. They couldn't tackle Northwestern. They couldn't tackle him. He was making extra yardage every play. Mason Boyer was finding the right guys when he needed to. And it was a 14-14 game at half, but then second half comes, and I think towards the end of the first half, you kind of saw a drive from Northwestern Lehigh that said, okay, I think they've kind of figured out how they need to move the ball. And it was kind of a wrap from there. It felt like every play was going 8 to 10 yards. And that's kind of the challenge of pulling off an upset at this level is these top level teams can just score so quickly that they can flip a tie game into a blowout in a matter of 6 minutes. And I think Trinity coach Kevin Yarnovich had the right mindset after he said, listen, we were one of 4 teams left playing in the entire classification. I don't think many people, especially when they started 0-2 and lost to East Pennsboro, thought they would even – heck, I don't even know if people thought they'd make the district playoffs when they started the season 0-2 with games against Susquehanna Township still left on the schedule. For them to make it all the way to the state semifinals in just Kevin Yarnovich's, second year as Trinity head coach. And then you kind of look – it's interesting, look at who left that roster when Kevin Yarnovich took over. Messiah Mickens left that roster. Chris Thompson left that roster. Ish Palmer left that roster. Michael Schenk left that roster. Those are 4 guys that were playing on state semifinal teams, big roles in state semifinal teams in higher classifications. Yep. You lose those 4 guys and you're still making the state semifinal. That's impressive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's done an awesome job, and like I said, he was so well respected before that. But then obviously taking over and kind of putting his spin on it, the guys just believed they were better than teams when they showed up. I mean, even the games they lost, those are type games that, the game with Allentown Catholic was set up by Jordan Hill, who obviously left, was the head coach. But he did that specifically so you can see where you're at. It's the same reason East Pennsboro plays Bethlehem Catholic. You want to find out immediately where your team is at and what you need to do from this point to that point to get to this postseason and obviously have success. And that's exactly what Trinity did. Hats off to Kevin Yarnovich, and obviously hats off to the players as well for getting to this point, man. It is not difficult. 3A is a veritable crapshoot. There's a lot of really gangster squads out there in 3A that can bite you quick.
I've always said, I don't think there's that much of it. Like, obviously there are differences, but I think the differences are kind of very gradual between 3A and 5. Like, it's not like the football is that much lower quality at 3A than 5. It's tough. It's tough in any of these classes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been tremendous. And you look at the top 2 teams who are in the final, Avonworth and Northwestern Lehigh, who just played last year, and it was in a beautiful dust up at Cumberland Valley. So that's going to be a rematch coming up on Saturday afternoon. So anyway, all right, I got a chance to go to the brand new Mifflin County football stadium. I'd only seen pictures in Lewistown, and I'll tell you what, that place is gorgeous. They did such a good job with this field. It sits right down in like a little bowl. Now you're high up in the mountain, it always I was kidding their old former baseball coach in the press box. I'm like, it seemed like we were 10,000 feet up, in the
Probably
Rockies.
are.
No, we're not. It's not that far. But he actually gave me the actual elevation, and I think it's like 700 feet or something. It's something very minuscule. But you're up there high. It was windy. It was cold, and they have just an absolute beautiful, beautiful facility. So good for them. I will miss Mitchell Field because it was cozy and all that on the other side of town. But this was tremendous. But Twin Valley came up with a 28-24 victory over Aliquippa. And the Raiders were up 28-6 in this game, Dan. Just absolutely running the rock. Lucas Myers had 3 touchdowns. They got a few key little pass plays here and there. Their defense was really good. And then you talked about flipping that switch. Aliquippa came out in the second half, and the wind was so fierce. It was 30 miles an hour. Basically, you're in the press box on the visiting side, looking up at the high school. From left to right, the wind was beautiful for you. Right to left, no one could do anything offensively. You certainly couldn't pass the ball. Although, on the last series, Aliquippa was moving right to left, and it damn near won it. But Aliquippa comes back. Marcus Council was a tremendous game at quarterback, 3 touchdowns in the third quarter. And somehow, Twin Valley comes up with a stop. Keenan Mum, their defensive back, who had a couple key tackles in open space in this game, breaks it up at the goal line, a pass from Council to preserve the 4-point win. And Twin Valley will head to their first state championship appearance. But just a tremendous overall game. I was, 28-6, it felt like it was over. It felt like Aliquippa could just pack their bags and go, you know what? It's warm on the bus. Let's just get out of here. And they absolutely did not do that.
That's not how Aliquippa people are built. I don't think. I don't think that
No,
they're
but
okay with.
it's just the
Yeah.
way things were going. They were not having success stopping the run. And then you were like, if they don't come out here in the first 2-3 minutes of this third quarter and score, it's over. And they came out in the first two, boom, and scored. And there was a controversial onside kick where a fair catch play thing was involved. And, now, again, they still had a chance to win at the end. It was 1st and goal from the 8. They had 4 chances, couldn't do it. So I don't know if you can turn to that or not, but again, it wasn't really a factor in the end. But great win for Twin Valley, and obviously we'll see them on Thursday at Chapman Field. All right, Dan, our little double dip Saturday against in beautiful Altoona. I swear it was it was more Palm Desert than Arctic Freeze
Yeah.
at Altoona. I was very impressed. I don't know how you felt.
I mean, the wind wasn't that bad, which I think is what can always kind of kill you in these games.
Yeah.
But like I was walking around at halftime and stuff. It felt kind of nice. You still got, as I call it, Altoona gray in the sky.
Sure. Yes.
But the first game kind of made you forget about the weather because it's such a fun, well played. I mean, I maybe not. I don't know if well played. I know Bishop McDevitt had some kind of things that he wants to clean up a little bit from that game, but it was an exciting football game. Real back and forth stuff. Nolan DeLucia, you can't say enough good stuff about this kid. One of the best, probably one of the better WPIAL quarterbacks of the last handful of years. Really didn't. They went down by double digits and fought back. Took a lead. McDevitt takes another lead. I thought the story of this game, and I talked with him about it, was Sebastian Williams. His plays just continue to get better as the season has gone on. He threw the game touchdown to give his team the lead. His team then, Peters Township then ties it up, and then he drives the team right down the field for a game-winning field goal. That was always the biggest question mark going into this season, right, for Bishop McDevitt was Sebastian Williams ready to win these kind of games? I think we got the answer. He's got a tougher matchup next week, but I think we got the answer that this kid is, at the very least, he's up for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was impressive effort from him. And just, McDevitt's defense sort of stepped up when they needed to late, but you knew Peters Township was not going anywhere in this football game. He misses a couple of a lot of tough kids on that squad, and Obviously, to come back the week before against Pine Richland, which I was hell bent on thinking the Rams are coming to Hershey. I thought the Rams would be the representative, but again, it will be Bishop McDevitt, and they will get the rematch with Roman Catholic. The second game, Dan, was a complete write-off for Harrisburg. I don't think they want to remember any part of this except making the state semifinals as the district champ. 32-14, they fall to Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Not a whole hell of a lot went right for the Cougars in this one.
No, I mean, you can kind of sum it up in one way that first drive of the game, Harrisburg punts on third down, and I think later in the game it kind of justified that decision because that Central Catholic punt block unit was just kind of and field goal block unit was just kind of dicing through the Harrisburg unit. So they decided to first drive of the series they pooch punt on third down from their own 2 rather than start the game off with a defensive touchdown or a safety. It was just really tough. Harrisburg had troubles when you're able to run on Harrisburg the way Central Catholic did. That's a pretty good blueprint for beating the Cougars because usually they're gonna make you work for any yards you gain on the ground. Chris Black Jr. was tremendous, the sophomore running back. Been injured a lot of the year, but man, I think the takeaway is that line that Central Catholic has is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Like if you're able to kind of dominate a really, really, really good Harrisburg Cougar front like that, that says a lot. I'm not sure how they're going to handle a rematch with LaSalle, but I think that this game told me a lot more about Central Catholic and how good that team is than anything Harrisburg did wrong.
Yeah, agreed. Hell of a season, though, for Harrisburg, of course, but they fall 32-14 to the Vikings. All right, Dan, let's run down the schedule now for championship week. It begins Thursday. All 6 games will be at Chapman Field at Cumberland Valley High School. Thursday, December 4th, we'll start with the 1A championship game. That's Bishop Guilford at 13-2 versus Clareton at 14-1. And then, of course, the 4A game will be at 7 o'clock, Twin Valley and Southern Lehigh. All right, out of those 2, which one do you definitely want to watch out of those 2? We're going to be covering them all. We'll be there tweeting and doing the whole thing. But what's the more exciting game in your mind there?
Hard not to lead Twin Valley. I kind of think this Clareton team, they look like a complete. I know Guilfoyle's a good squad, but that Clareton team looks like a wagon. If you haven't set the lines yet, I imagine they will be installed as the favorite in that one.
Yes.
But I'm just very interested with this Twin Valley, how Twin Valley kind of responds to. It's felt like throughout the season they've either dominated games or at the very least dominated the second halves of games. This is probably the first time this year where they're coming off a second half where they had to cling on for dear life, right, and hold on and win. I'm going to see how they respond to that. This is they'll be going against a team that has some big time offensive players, right?
Yep.
You look at what Sean Steckard's numbers this year, and you have to double check you're not looking at his career numbers.
Right.
He's run for 2,911 yards and 41 touchdowns. And their quarterback, Colton Sams, is thrown for 34. I just think that Twin Valley has shut down offenses all postseason long. And if I had to lean, I would lean that they're going to be able to do it to a Southern Lehigh team that is quite good, but has probably not faced a team like Twin Valley yet this year.
Yeah, and I think tempo could come into play in this one too. I don't think Southern's used to follow. Twin Valley likes to run up tempo, likes to get in a rhythm. Why wouldn't you with that kind of rushing attack? But Southern Lehigh has made people play ugly too, and that's Bishop Guilfoyle's biggest strength too in the opener against Clareton. They've got to make Clareton play ugly. I mean, you've seen the scores from Guilfoyle, 8-6, 9-4. It's just weird. It's a great defensive.
Hard to get Clareton to play a game like that.
Well, that's just the thing. What Clareton has absolutely been destroying people. When you win a state semifinal, 57-0, that scares you. All right, let's move on to Friday. Farrell, 2A final. Farrell, 13-2 versus Southern Columbia, 14-1. Everybody from Catawissa is coming down. It'll be a whole big falloo. There'll be Ferris wheels in the parking lot. It's like State Fair, man.
The plucky
Bring it
the
all down.
plucky Rocky story of Southern Columbia, right? No
Yeah,
one believes in
exactly,
them.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, they haven't done much. It's
yeah.
good that they got here again. It's a nice story. Jim Roth only has 500 and whatever wins, um, but that should be a whale of a ball game because Southern's going to give up some size here.
Hmm.
Farrell's got some guys up front that can really cook, and I think Farrell's a lot more athletic than what Southern Columbia just took out in the semifinals. So this one should be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think Farrell's live. I think the past few times Southern Columbia has been in the state title game, it's not like they've been blowing teams out, correct? Like they've
Right.
had some tough challenges against Westinghouse teams. I don't think that obviously they've had some blowouts to get to this point. Um, but I think this Farrell team's really talented. Like you said, I don't think that they're going to be outgunned. It's a lot of times when you're going against a team like Southern Columbia, even when it's kind of after a few years where they haven't been back or whatever, you're still going against the aura and kind of the reputation of Southern Columbia, right? And
Oh
I
yeah.
think this Farrell squad is going to be able to get that out of its head. But Southern Columbia postseason is so much about playing your best football at the right time of the year, and Southern Columbia is doing that.
Yeah, and this is really a little bit more versatile Southern Columbia team. They throw it a little bit more. They just rather than just ground and pound, which teams have caught up to that end of it. To how good Southern has been. Doing that part of it, but it's not like Southern is one dimensional, and you could just key on one or load the box or do those kind of things. They'll keep you guessing on offense, which is pretty good. Which is one of the reasons why they're back in this situation. So that should be a whale of a ball game. I think we both agree the 5A final between McDevitt and Roman Catholic Friday night is going to be a whale of a ball game. We saw just the athleticism of those guys last year, and obviously the schedule they played. This is going to be a tall test for Bishop McDevitt.
I mean, I think that this is probably as tough as some of those Aliquippa matchups they've had,
Yeah,
and that says something because those Aliquippa teams were loaded. But when you're going up against a 5A team that beat the presumptive favorite in 6A, I
yeah,
think that tells you a heck of a lot about how good this Roman Catholic team is. We're going to learn a little bit more about that team in a few minutes when we have head coach Rick Prete on. But um, you know, you're it's we've talked about Sebastian Williams and how he's kind of played. He's kind of proven that he's ready for this. Well, Samaj Beals is as proven of a quarterback as we have in the entire state. I mean, I guess the only other argument would be what Gavin Sidwar.
yeah,
Um, it's just uh, this is going to be a tall task, but I think that if McDevitt wins this football game, I think it was kind of the argument for them all year, which is that front seven, that defensive line and those linebackers are as good of a unit as you're going to find in 5A and maybe even the state. You have so many guys that are playing downhill. They basically eliminate any ability to run the ball. Like
yeah,
they just and it turns into a passing game. Now, Roman Catholic has one of the best passers in the state, and that could be what is the difference. But you don't know what these passers look like when you can't run the football, and it makes it a heck of a lot harder to throw the ball when you're running for 1 to 2 yards of carry and you're facing a lot of 2nd and 9. So I think it's such a fascinating matchup. I think these are two well coached teams, two programs, right? People don't like to hear it when you're talking about like Roman Catholic. You're talking about Bishop McDevitt, but not every Catholic school is in the state championship game every single year, and it's not that easy to get here. And it says a lot about the group of kids and the job these coaching staffs has done, especially McDevitt. McDevitt has been banged up all year, and they're starting to get a little healthier now. I think it's a fascinating matchup. I kind of lean Roman Catholic just because of that experience factor at the quarterback position. But there's no confidence level there at all.
yeah. Well, speaking of coaching, let's get to one of the best in the state. We just talked about him. Roman Catholic head coach Rick Prete joins us, and we'll get his thoughts on the big game.
We are thrilled here at the PA High School Football Report podcast to have a very special guest with us this week. This man has been the head football coach at Roman Catholic since 2019, and last year brought the KLites to their first state title game. This year, he has the team looking to win the whole thing. Uh, on Friday night against the same opponent from a year ago, from our neck of the woods, Bishop McDevitt. We're going to talk that matchup, talk about how he's built up this program, and a whole lot more. Let's welcome in one of the best coaches in the state of Pennsylvania, Coach Rick Prete.
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Rick, I mean, let's just start I guess we'll start back in 2019, right? You take over a program. We all kind of know, Roman Catholic's been a basketball powerhouse for a while. You've had some success in football, but when you took over the program in 2019, was where you guys are at now kind of the goal? Was it kind of, that's like, how did you kind of go about setting kind of goals for where you wanted to build up this program?
So the first thing was trying to get to a place to where we had sustained success, to where eventually, if and when we became a relevant program, that we stayed that way. So 2019, that first group, those kids, I'm so forever thankful for them, because it was a culture shock for them, and for me, and the coaches that we brought in, for what we were going to be asking of them. And if that first group doesn't rise to what we asked them to do, I don't know that we're here today in this position. So that it was a heavy senior led group in 2019, and some of the things we implemented were just things that we've kind of all grown up around in our programs back in the day, like weight room being mandatory. We have 7-on-7. We have workouts. Stuff is not optional. Like, you must do it. And I just think that it's just been 4 or 5 years of grinding that led to the success of probably the last 3-4 years.
Yeah. Do you guys feel in that locker room the expectation, the complete shift in where the expectations were in 2019 to where it was now? Because I mean, you make a state championship game. I don't care what class in 2 straight years. I think that says a lot about not just the specific players, but about the program. To do it in 5A, where and especially when your guys' schedule every year, where you guys are playing against teams like St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle and things like that. Do you feel the expectation shift, like just in day-to-day operations, and how much different it is from the 5 years ago?
Yeah, and you sense that, and just being around it every day. You know, Initially there was a mindset of, oh man, we have to play these teams,
Mhm.
right? And then later on it became, we get to play these teams. We get the opportunity to play against St. Joe's, to play against LaSalle. Um, this year, traveling down to Florida and playing one of the top teams there, getting a win down there in West Palm Beach, and then we lose a heartbreaker down at in Charlotte against Providence Day. These are games that we expected to win, and then this is the first year where I saw our kids genuinely, um, or not just our kids, but the expectation was we didn't play well enough and we should have beat St. Joe's. We expected to win the LaSalle game, and it's not a knock on those guys, because those are tremendous programs. It's just the confidence level of our young man in the program, kind of trusting his work and our process of what's going on. So you definitely feel the shift, because the expectations are high.
Coach, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you too. Every season, even though you come in with big expectations and you expect to win every game, there always seems to be that pivot point in a season where you sort of have to evaluate where you guys are, and then it just switches one week, whether it's a tough loss or it's a big win. One of those things happens. Well, for you, where do you feel like that point in the season was, that this is not only you come into the season thinking we're going to get back to the final, but you realize this is where we're heading now?
Yes, sir. Well, I felt like we played well. Um, just the brand of football, our expectation. I felt like we played well. Like the Chestnut Hill game, I wasn't. We weren't really happy with our performance in that game, but then you turn around and see that they're the Interact champion this year. So they were a phenomenal team. They ended up being really good. I think uh, we were at a all-time high after the LaSalle game because we did what we were supposed to do, and then after the St. Joe's game, uh, we were at an all-time low because we were supposed to win that. So the pivot point, uh, to your question, Eric, I think was the Bonner game because Bonner is an extremely tough program, very similar to us with the type of young man that they have, um, and they play us really tough. And our kids came out, responded, and played really well. So we're well enough to get it done. And I think in the past we'd have hung our hats after that kind of St. Joe's game, and the fact that we didn't, and the kids stayed in good spirits and stayed focused on the goal, to your question, is kind of that pivot point for me.
Just looking at your guys' schedule, and people always go, "Oh, well, they're 10-3, they're 11-3." I'm like, you don't quite understand what you're seeing. You had multiple games with St. Joe's, and obviously you mentioned playing those two hammers. Springfield was unbelievable too, and then you come right back with DeMatha, who was one of the top, I don't know, 12 teams in the country. So you're certainly battle tested. I wanted to ask you too. Dan had mentioned the start in 2019. Have you ever had a struggle with numbers? Because there's always a lot of movement in Philly. Always in the area, and guys coming in and out, and in the Philadelphia system too. Guys move inside schools, things like that. Have you ever had to kind of curtail a little bit your scheduling and things like that because your numbers have been down, or what you might consider down?
No, so I think initially early on, my first year we had like 30 kids rostered, and then we look back, a couple of years ago, and we have 130 in the program. So what the numbers, how the numbers change, Eric, is like it's not that kids are leaving because they don't like it,
Right.
or this or that. What happens is we're a tuition-based school, so life happens, things happen, right? And sometimes we lose a young man in that respect, and they're always family to us, and we're always willing to help them. But as far as scheduling, like, yeah, early on as you're building the program up, if you go back and look at our schedule, just say 3 years ago, we scheduled Lincoln, which was one of the best programs in the city. We scheduled Perk Valley, which was really, a really good District 1 team. And as we continue to elevate not just our numbers, but the way we operate as a program, because we learn as coaches how to set our young men up to be better. As we learn what we want to become, we started to kind of jump off the porch and say, hey, we're going to lock into a yearly deal with DeMatha, and then that first year, that 5 overtime game down there kind of gave us the confidence to be like, hey, we can play here. Then the next year we go down to St. John's, and we beat St. John's DC. And now that we're kind of living in that realm, our numbers are doing really well, but we have to have good numbers because of the schedule that we're playing, and that schedule that we play doesn't guarantee us anything for the end of the season, except
Right.
for the fact that we have seen things and have faced some adversity, so that's kind of the goal on that. And obviously for us, there's the Pennsylvania side of things. When we take that non-league schedule, we want to represent the entire state to the best of our ability. And that's big for us to show them that Pennsylvania is really strong with football. But we also want to, as Roman Catholic, we want to be a national program. So those things are things that we're working towards.
Mhm. Well, talking about numbers, you guys have a ton of good players, but at least from the outside looking in, it's hard not to point to your quarterback as kind of the first one we look at. From afar, we're watching from the mid-state. He's been a special guy to watch from afar, but I imagine having a guy like Samaj Beals in the building every day has been pretty special for you as a coach. Can you kind of tell the listeners what it's been like coaching a guy like him? It just feels like his improvement year to year has been so clear, and he's having another outstanding year this year. And just how much, you see it in the NFL, you see it in college, how much a quarterback like that can lift all tides. What's it been like coaching Samaj?
It's been tremendous, starting with just the young man that he is. He is a pleasure to be around. He's got a great, vibrant personality. Um, he knows how to lift you up when his teammates and everybody when things aren't going well. We've seen his progression on a year-to-year basis on and off the field. I mean, he maintains a near 4.0 GPA. Um, he has great understanding of what we want to do offensively, and I think that one of the most underrated things about him and any good quarterback is he knows where his guys are, right? And he knows who his guys are. So we're fortunate that we have a really talented receiver group that he's able to get the ball to, and he kind of commands that offense. He has respect of his peers, but I would also say, that offensive line has been tremendous this year, and this is kind of all engineered by our offensive coordinator, Marcus Hammond, who has come in and just elevated not just our offense, but our entire program, and what he demands of Samaj on a day-to-day basis. It kind of lets me be like we're in like a good cop, bad cop role. But there's a standard for not just Samaj, but all of the way we play quarterback at Roman. Like quarterback is a position at Roman that needs to excel. And I say this all the time. Sometimes we focus on the things that he needs to improve on so much that it's going to be a while before we can sit back and say, man, we really had a good one. But his character is kind of what leads the charge and kind of champion what kind of young man he is. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, Coach, from neutral observers, last year's state 5A state championship game was, one of the better games I've had a chance to cover. I know your guys didn't come on, the right end of the result, but it was a thrilling game. I think two teams are both clearly deserving of being state champions. You get that matchup again this year. We talked to Coach Wechter after their win over Peters Township. He said, we're pretty familiar with kind of a lot of those guys in Roman Catholic. I'm sure it's similar, even though they have a different quarterback. There's a lot of similar concepts and things like that. How excited is your group to get another chance at Bishop McDevitt and get another chance at this game? And how much do you take from that first game? Is it kind of a balance of taking some stuff from that first matchup and accepting it's a new year? I'm always interested how that process goes.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I think the first thing is to um, not for us to not make excuses, and to tip our hat to Coach Wechter and the kids over at McDevitt and the coaches over there. Like I said after the game, like they got us. They're a phenomenal program. So like scheme wise, yeah, there's some things that we're going to do similar, and there's familiarity, but what we are trying to focus on is, and I give Coach Wechter a lot of credit. I don't even know if he remembers that he said this, but um, he kind of let me know that he's gotten to him before and has not finished, and it's just about kind of keep pushing. And so for us, we're just kind of focused on the mistakes that we made and making sure that we limit those things and play our brand of football because they went and won the game. Like they are the champion from last year. We feel as though we could have played better, So I want to make sure that when I say that, it's fully understood that they are the winner. We just could have played a much cleaner football game, and I think that this year we will.
Coach, I just have one more question for you, and it's the most boring one. You probably get this a lot. We hear the argument this time of the year, boundary versus non-boundary. But no one ever thinks to ask the head coach of a successful non-boundary school to get their opinion. It's always asking private or public school coaches about the situation. I'm guessing you prefer the current setup. I know we do. I think for us, including everybody and playing in the same neighborhood is I think the right thing to do. And I think it really makes winning something like a state title or getting to a state championship game that much better. But I'm curious as to your thoughts on the subject, to kind of get your opinion.
Well, it's a touchy subject, but I would say I understand both views. The only thing I would say is nobody was worried about Roman Catholic football 10 years ago.
Right.
I would say that Lansdale Catholic had a great season. They lost to a public school. There's been numerous cases of I remember Pine Richland winning the 6A state championship. I just think if we're talking equity in the game and you're making it, it really feels like it's a Philadelphia issue. I mean, I'm a District 1 guy growing up, and it seems like that there's just a bullseye on Philadelphia because people don't live here and they don't know the ins and outs, and they think one way, but it's really another way. There's a lot of kids on our roster that nobody's ever heard of, and
right.
Are they did they choose Roman Catholic because they wanted to be developed and they wanted to be in a program that was going to be year round and strict and have rules and discipline and not stop? Or should they have chose their local area school where maybe they have a mini camp in June and they show up in August? And that's no knock to anybody that does that, but
right.
I don't know that it's just like some standard answer, more than I think there's not a familiarity with whatever finger pointing is going on. You have to know everything. And then my counter argument would be, or just an additional point, not a counter argument, would be we have to be careful. I'm a District 1 guy, like I said, growing up. We have to be careful that we think that public schools, all their kids come from their backyard,
Right.
and so what's going to happen is once there is a separation, there's going to be complaints about schools that get kids from outside of their local public school. And then once that happens, it's going to be, well, there should be a super public school division,
right.
and then a large school, and then a medium school, and then how long does it go until everybody gets something? So I support whatever the PIAA has in place. Our goal is to play the best of the best. So I understand both sides of it. But if I was Pine Richland and some other schools that beat some of these non-boundary schools, I would feel pretty satisfied with that win.
Yeah, like you said too about Roman. No one thought about St. Joe's prep football before 2011 either. It was irrelevant. Then all of a sudden you string things together and you get a bunch of, that are successful. I mean, McDevitt had not been back to a state finals from 95 all the way to 2011 or 2010. I'm sorry. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's an interesting debate. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And there are valid points on both ends. But you're right. I think everyone should know the entire ins and outs of everything before maybe making that opinion. So thanks for that. I know it's a touchy situation, and I get a whole lot of that this time of year. But you're right. It is predominantly a Philly issue.
Yeah,
particularly in basketball. It's sort of the bigger argument would be basketball. But
and Eric, I would add, who wins with the separation?
Yeah,
I mean, there's been no discussion on our end. This is just me, and I probably whatever. What would be the benefit to remain in the PIAA if you separate? Because you're talking about, I don't know, let's say 17 to 19 teams in the PCL.
right.
Yeah.
Where are we supposed to, where are these non-league games and
exactly.
then when you get to the playoffs, are we supposed to play Pittsburgh Central Catholic in Harris. Like I don't know if there's enough teams to make that feasible. So
Okay.
if we were to separate, I think it would be more beneficial for us to not be affiliated at all.
Well,
Yeah, it's not
I
just
think
like a
what,
snap
right.
your finger thing, right? It's like there's so much infrastructure that would have to be put into place.
Yeah, and I think you'd also have a situation where you have, if you're using the same enrollment figures, you'd have some 3A private schools playing 6A private schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to, at that point, you have to bring in the argument about safety of players and things like that, because guys are not the same size as and that kind of distinction. So, yeah, there's so much to think about, and so much to kind of debate and argue over. But again, the PIAA has always been about inclusion, since the rule's been in place, and you can argue all you want, but you still gotta get your cleats on and get out there and get to the final. So
Yeah, and I support whatever's done.
yeah,
I support whatever's done.
Yep. Well,
yeah.
Coach, one last question before we let you go. Just a pretty simple one. Roman Catholic wins the state championship on Friday if, and I'll have you fill in the blank.
If we play our game and act like we've been here before.
Mhm. Awesome. That's a perfect answer, I think.
Yep.
Coach Rick Prete, one of the very best coaches in the entire state. The job he's done at Roman Catholic, I think, is hard to find a better coaching job over that span than what you've done. So, congrats again, and we'll be seeing you on Friday. Can't wait for that one. Like we said, last year's matchup was a humdinger for the fans, and I imagine this one's going to be another good one as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Coach.
Bye.
All right, that was Roman Catholic head coach Rick Prete. We thank him so much for giving us some time this week. Lots to do when you're getting ready for a championship game, and obviously no different for the KLites.
Yeah.
That should be a whale of a ball game with Bishop McDevitt. We look forward to
You
that.
can tell how he's been able to transform that program just kind of talking to him, right? He's got such a clear vision of how he wants to build a program, what he thinks, what he views kind of as success, and how you're able to achieve that. Like we said in the interview, no one really thought it. Roman Catholic was a basketball school, right?
Right.
Until Rick Prete took over, and now they're in their second straight state championship game. Hard pressed to find a better coaching job since 2019 than what he's done there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. We'll get a chance to see him on Friday night. All right, last two games, the final Saturday of the season, December 6th, the 3A championship. We talked a little bit about Northwestern Lehigh and Avonworth. This is the only final between unbeatens. The Tigers 15-0 and Avonworth. The Antelopes stand. The Antelopes 14-0. And 6A coming up, LaSalle College High School 12-1 versus Pittsburgh Central Catholic 13-1. That is Saturday night, 7 o'clock. That will be a barn burner as well. I think we both will install LaSalle as the favorite in that one, just because they've looked tremendous. But Pittsburgh CC in that rushing attack just gives me a little bit of pause that this one could go deep into the fourth quarter. That's just my take. I don't know how you feel, Dan.
I'm still leaning LaSalle. I just there's so many weapons there, and in that Harrisburg Central Catholic game, there were some 50-50 ball that if a Harrisburg receiver had come down with it, or if ball was placed a little different, like there were chances to move the ball through the air, and I think Gavin Sidwar is going to be able to find Joey O'Brien in some of those situations, and it in these games when a boulder starts moving downhill, it's hard to stop, and I think you'll be able to tell pretty early the kind of game we're getting. I think if Gavin Sidwar is sitting there comfortable, finding Joey O'Brien on these 10, 15-yard out routes, and I think it'll be a long day for Central Catholic. But if they're kind of struggling to move the ball a little bit to start the game, and you let that PCC run game get going, then you start getting into, hey, it's a one possession game in the third, fourth quarter, and then it becomes a coin flip.
Yeah, and Chapman Field's a little open there. Could be some wind.
Yeah.
So that could be a factor as well. We don't know. We're not saying there is, but But anyway, we got a hell of a schedule for over the next 3 championship days, starting Thursday with the 1A final. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the PA High School Football Report. We want to thank our special guest, Roman Catholic head coach Rick Prete. Awesome insight into the season and how the K-Lates have handled their business. And of course, get out to Chapman Field if you can. Take your Costco card with you. Walk across the street, grab a wiener, and we'll be there. Say hello. Come up to us on the sideline. Well, not on the side. You're not allowed on the sidelines, but I'll come up to the fence and say hello. And all week long, we're going to have previews and special guests. Remember, it's signing day. National Signing Day is Wednesday. We'll have all the information of where we expect guys to go and the actual signings and a lot more. So check out PennLive.com when you can. We appreciate it. For Megan, our producer, Dan Sosik, I'm Eric Epler from PennLive. See you next week.